So if somebody would ask you as a little kid, did you want to be a race car driver, or were you already thinking you wanted to be in the pit crew?
No, I think everybody, it was interesting when you grew up in Speedway because, as a kid growing up, most people want to be an astronaut or they want to be a fireman or a police officer. But if you grew up in Speedway as a kid, you wanted to be a race car driver. That pretty much, you couldn't get away from the Speedway. Even when we would be racing our bikes, during that whole period of time, as we're out on the cul-de-sac racing our bikes, we've got the radio going. We're listening to practice or the broadcast on WIBC, and we're close enough to the track where you can hear them running over at the track. So it was just all encompassing us as little kids, and you were just surrounded by it all the time. So.
If they were testing out there, like during the summertime, we'd ride our bikes over, and stand E in turn 1 was always open. And we'd go up and sit in the stands and just watch them continuously. We used to ride our bicycles in the snow, wishing there was a car in the track, sitting in the snow, in the stands. And matter of fact,
the only ones in the whole place.
Yeah. And matter of fact, when we won with Hélio, I turned and looked at Brian. I go, "This beats the hell out of riding our bikes in the snow," it was just 360 degrees. We made it together, which was very cool.
So was that kind of like the racing stuff that you guys were doing as kids? Was that a year-round thing for everybody, or was that just like in May, in springtime?
No, I think we did it all the time.
We kind of did it all the time. May was kind of the big deal, and usually by the time the race, the qualifying weekend would come, and we were all in, and by the time the race would come, we couldn't race our bikes on race day, obviously, because most people were at the track. And then usually it would kind of fizzle out once the race was over and they weren't running anymore and it wasn't on the radio. We would kind of lose interest. I don't think we never did have an actual race.
Hey, race day we raced our bikes. This car behind us, we were in the Speedway Shopping Center when they announced for the third day, we're going racing, and I crashed right in front of Andretti's place, and I thought I broke my arm, so I'm one arm riding our bikes to the Speedway to get there for the race, because it was the third day that they finally ran that race.
In 1973, And unfortunately, not a great year, but memorable for sure.
Yeah, and for all kinds of traffic.
Yeah, there was.
Well, so with the guys that were racing, was there ever really a winner? Or one of you guys? Did one of you?
I always won.
Me.
That's why my bike was on pole position when you saw that picture. But if you notice my bike also, I took everything off. There was no brakes, there's no fender, there's no chain guard, anything to make it go faster.
That's exactly where I was going next. Were you working on as like mechanically on those bikes?
Oh,
always.
Yeah, we were always trying to make them faster.
And what sparked your interest in doing that? Because like as a kid, if I took something apart, I could never put it back together.
That was my brother. But my one thing that for me is my dad, I'd pop a tire, he goes, "You broke it, you fix it." Well, that's because he could never fix anything. And I just explained this the other day. I'm doing the inner tube and I'm rolling that screwdriver in there, not realizing I'm poking holes in the inner tube, and then use that real glue that gets you high. Back in the day as a kid, had about 10 patches on my inner tube, but just there were so many guys in our neighborhood too that were mechanics, and that's what people go, "You know what you're doing?" I said, "Sure I do." "No, I just watched them." Watched what they were doing, and that's how you learned. If you wanted a job on a race team, you went to the chief mechanic because his name was the big name on the car, and they're the ones that did the hiring. They were the boss, and so that was the best way to go about it.
A lot more opportunity now for younger guys than there was back when we got involved. And usually you had to know someone that was in the field to be an outsider, which we totally were. I mean, we were just fans as kids, didn't have any relatives or anyone involved with racing. So it was a challenge to get in. A lot of luck, took some risks, and things worked out. But we had a neighbor. His father. Mike Miller. His father was a engineer, aircraft, or like a technical engineer, I guess would be a good way to describe it, and was always very impressed by them. Just, I would watch them working on their lawnmower or just doing any kind of you know, working on it themselves, and I was always intrigued with that as a little kid. And I think that probably sparked my interest more than anything, not necessarily in racing, but I knew that, you know, I wanted to be able to take stuff apart and put it back together. And to be honest, I think probably one of the things that helped me along more than anything was I was a big model builder. Race car models and airplane models, but you know, being able to follow instructions and putting stuff together and taking it apart. I mean, that helped me out a lot as a kid, just to kind of get in that mindset of, you know, being able to look at stuff and put it together.
That was the fun thing. What he's saying is, being a kid, you had all the funny cars from the 60s and 70s, and you had the Indy cars, Formula One cars back in the 60s. That we didn't have the games, you know, that people play nowadays, but we had we tried to make those things look real and build those things. Until we used M80s on them, blew them up. But